you won't regret not having kids. I know everyone says you're going to regret not having kids. Who's going to take care of you when you're old? Uh, you don't want a legacy. You don't want a mini me. Like, you don't want to make your parents happy. You don't want to make your mom happy. Babe, you are much more likely to regret having kids. You are more likely to regret having kids, regret losing your future, your freedom, your autonomy, your power. You're much more likely to regret that than to regret having kids. You're going to regret having kids, not having kids. Not having kids is awesome. And having kids is selfish. And it's okay to be selfish. But it's better to be selfless, and it's much better to be self-full. And not having kids will allow you to do that. Yeah, the world needs exactly. Okay, you won't regret having your autonomy, your sovereignty, your freedom, your life, your happiness. The world needs happier people, not more people. Yeah. All right. Let me give you my intro. I'm a transformation specialist, shadow alchemist, and ex-lawyer, and I help powerful, visionary, highly successful women and creatives and child-free people and cycle breakers to unleash their power, walk in purpose as divine disruptors, and create the life of their dreams. And so let me tell you, you're not going to regret not having kids. I always, think of the word and concept of being knocked up. Okay. That, knocked up comes from slavery times when you were selling a slave and you had a pregnant slave. You could knock up the price on a pregnant slave because, of course, a child of an enslaved woman is automatically a slave. So you get two slaves for the price of one. That's just economics, right? So that is where knocked up comes from. They understood the value of, you could get the value of the enslaved woman's labor and the value of the labor of her child. So when slavery was outlawed, the slave owners were allowed to keep all of their money, the money they got on the backs of slaves. They, got insurance payouts, paying them back for the loss of their property, the slaves, the humans they were trafficking. And, all those people got to hold on to their power, their position in society. And so they were able to pass on their money, their power, and their values to their children. So fast forward to today, those same people, the same human traffickers, got to keep all their wealth, passed on their values to their children. Their children are now grown and are in charge of the power systems in America. And so you have to assume that the same value system is in place. So it still benefits the slave owners, the white people, the powers that were, when you get knocked up. They can profit off of the value of your labor and the labor of your child, who is also enslaved in this system that everyone feels trapped in. So I always think about that. And I'm like, whenever I see people acting so unconsciously and, acting from fear, those are the things that like the Matrix wants. They want you to not make the connections that I just did. I love the most recent Matrix movie because, at the, end of it, we learn that the machines use children and traditional family structures as instruments of psychological control over Tiffany, who is Trinity, who is Neo's counterpart. By trapping her in the illusion of being a mother, the system exploits societal gender expectations and maternal guilt to keep Tiffany, Trinity, distracted, exhausted, and compliant. Who does that sound like? Mothers, parents, and yeah, so the Matrix kind of burdens Trinity with conventional suburban motherly responsibilities. Um, you know, her children are function as illusory tethers. They're used to make her doubt her true desires, question her autonomy, and keep her mind anchored to to a comfortable but fabricated reality. And I hate to break it to you, babies, but that is what the children are designed for. That's why you're supposed to, um, you know, uh, feel all of this pressure to have children and to, oh, we gotta do the kids and we gotta, that just tethers you to this system that keeps you out of your power. The powers that were can continue to siphon your energy, your power, because you have to abdicate it to them and, go about the societal pressures of rearing children. Okay? Um, so yeah, the machine leverages her deep protective instincts as a mother by giving her a simulated family. They create situations where choosing to unplug or fight for the real world means having to abandon or put her children at risk, generating a profound and paralyzing moral conflict. But ultimately, sorry, spoiler alert, she realizes that it's an illusion. The Matrix is trying to keep her thinking that she's just ordinary lady named Tiffany with 2.5 kids and a husband, and they need her to go handle the motherly things. If she'd have done that, she would not have stepped into her power and become like the one with Neo. That was the key. It was both Neo and Trinity together stepping into their power, the masculine and the feminine working together to be like, oh, wait, we create this reality. So if she had not risked her family duties, her duties as a mother, as a parent, all of humanity would have suffered. So it would have been incredibly selfish of her to be like, oh yeah, my family needs me and things. No, the world needs you. Not just humanity. It was also the machines. It was everything. This whole reality requires you to step into your power. That's the selfless thing, is sacrificing the esteem, the social standing, all of the benefits, alleged benefits that come with having children. That's also like such a funny thing. Like a lot of times, like they'll give people this idea that it's selfish to not have kids when it's actually just incredibly selfish to have kids, especially now when you see like it's like all of our systems are run by pedophiles and abusers and human traffickers and people who are trying to just extract people's labor and discard them. Like, it's very selfish to have kids. Even the reasons, they're like, oh, you don't want a legacy? Oh, who's going to take care of you? Oh, who's going to, like if the children aren't here, who's going to give us hope for the future? That's your job. That's our job. Like what the people who want to have kids, what they are describing is actually child labor. You want a child so they can give you a legacy. Selfish. You want a child so you can have elder care when you're older. Selfish. You want a child so you can have a little mini me that you can fill up with whatever lessons and propaganda you want to give them. Selfish. Like the thought of like, oh, if we don't have children, like, what is their future? You want a future for yourself because you actually should be worried about creating a safe, hospitable, environment and experience for the children. But most people are worried about child labor. They're worried about making sure there's enough humans to keep them comfortable in their old age, to make sure there's enough humans to honor them, honor their ancestors. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, at the end of the Matrix, like even the machine is like, it used to be so much easier to control women with children, to use children to control women, to use children to keep women out of their power, out of their true creative potential. And so, also, people who don't have kids are the most awesome, the most selfless, the most generous, the wisest, the most influential in our species. They're the kindest, most selfless, most generous people who make the world safer and better for everyone. Those are the people who don't have kids. Let me give you some examples, okay? People who don't have kids who are actually the most awesome, most wise, most influential, most generous, improving humanity, all right? Dolly Parton, Tracy Ellis Ross, Amanda Seales. Let's take it back even farther. Rosa Parks, Amelia Earhart, the Wright brothers. Keep going back. George Washington, Queen Elizabeth, Joan of Arc, Beethoven, Plato, Edgar Allan Poe, Leonardo da Vinci. Oh, and I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Jesus Christ. All people whose legacy and contribution to humanity was not just a little version of them. Thank God that Jesus wasn't focused on having his own children, and he was more focused on creating heaven on earth. Thank God Leonardo da Vinci was focused on creating masterpieces and inventions rather than a little Leo Jr. Thank God Rosa Parks sat her butt down on a bus rather than popped out some kids that, she can't, she can't risk, the kids. No, we need Rosa Parks to sit down and stay seated. We needed the Wright brothers to be able to believe that flight was possible. You know what's crazy too? Like 2 months before the Wright brothers had their successful flights, there was this article in the New York Times that was like making fun of this other guy who tried to fly, but it didn't work. And they laughed so much. They had all of the experts on aeronautics, and they were like, it will take, like hundreds of coordinated people working together, our best mathematicians and everything. It will take them 1,000 years to 1,000,000 years to figure out how to fly. And so it's such a fool's errand for surely they have something else they can they can concentrate on to contribute to humanity. And then 2 months later, they figure it out. Something that the experts said they couldn't do. I bet they had people in their life who were like, give up this crazy flying machine talk, and settle down and have you some kids. Thank God the Wright brothers didn't listen. Thank God Amelia Earhart didn't listen to people who were like, just have kids. We don't need women flying planes. Thank God Queen Elizabeth didn't worry about having children. And she just worried about being a fucking iconic queen. Thank God George Washington wasn't worried about creating more slave owners. I mean, debatable, but thank God Beethoven made beautiful music rather than a bunch of little baby Beethovens. I'm so glad we have the Mona Lisa and like the Vitruvian Man or whatever the thing that Da Vinci did. And if Rosa Parks had instead said, "Oh, I've got children, I can't go to jail," all of humanity loses. If Jesus had said, "Oh, I can't risk standing up to the Jewish hierarchy, the Jewish leadership, I can't stand up to the Roman Empire, I can't stand up to the rich people, I gotta just go and I've got kids." No, Jesus has bigger plans. God has bigger plans for Jesus. And God has bigger plans for you. And so you won't regret it. It's powerful. Oh my gosh. Um, so yeah, oh, that's another thing that, parents do. They kind of absolve themselves of doing these selfless actions that would create a safe, hospitable, thriving world for the children. They absolve themselves of that by saying, "Well, I've had the children. That's the selfless thing." No, it's not. It's incredibly selfish. Humanity needs your creation, your imagination. It doesn't need another kid. Thank you. But we're good. We're still trying to figure out what to do with the kids we have now. So maybe please stop making more before we figure out what to do with the ones that we already have. Yeah, we love that. So yeah, having kids does not replace the other creations that you are capable of as gifts to humanity. We need what Jesus gave us. We need what Rosa Parks gave us. We need what Dolly Parton gives us, okay? George Washington, Queen Elizabeth, Wright brothers, Joan of Arc. Yeah, okay. So let me also, okay, and so I pulled some tarot cards to just confirm what the message was going to be today, all right? And listen, what I pulled is how I know that you won't regret not having kids. If you choose to not have kids, this is what is in store for you, okay? This is what the universe says. You're going to have time for self-mastery and developing your skills, using your hard work and your focus and, doing it over and over again to learn new things. And these things are going to make you a lot of money. This is Eight of Pentacles, by the way. So, yeah, Eight of Pentacles celebrates dedication, skill, and craftsmanship. It appears when mastery is built through repetition and focus. Signals work that refines both talent and character. Ooh. Study, apprenticeship, or creative labor that demands consistency. It encourages mindful improvement, excellence through devotion, not perfectionism. You're shaping not only your craft, but your self-discipline. Purpose is found in presence with the process. A lot of times, sometimes people will be like, "Oh, your children give you purpose." You're not supposed to give birth to your purpose, babe. Purpose is found in presence with the process. So commit to daily refinement, however small. However small. Oh. View work as meditation. Precision builds peace. And let integrity guide your ambition. Because I'm sorry, so many people, they do all of these terrible things for money, and then they justify it by saying, "Well, I've got kids, so I have to keep working for this, evil organization. I have to keep doing this thing for money." No, you don't. Okay? And yeah, if you don't have kids, you'll have lots of time for self-mastery and dedicating yourself, devoting yourself to your own self-development, which is, yeah, it's going to build you not only money, but also your character. And so the next card I pulled was the Sun. And if you've been with me the past couple of card readings, I've pulled the Sun in 4 different decks now. And the Sun is the most positive and one of the most positive and powerful cards in the deck. And it's all about like shining in your full power, your truth, self expression. It's about pure positivity and happiness, fulfillment, joy, truth, confidence. That comes when you really like walk in your purpose. And like the Sun is also an interesting card because typically it's like showing like a naked child, like symbolizing their vulnerability and their innocence, their purity. It's like they're supported by the universe, you know, like they're like the center of the universe. They're the sun. And it's about new beginnings and just it's very positive. And so like, you know, we have this fear that like, you know, you'll regret having kids. No, you won't. You know, the Sun is also about vitality. Like you will have the energy and the power to devote yourself to self mastery. And that is going to result in financial elevation. You know, like the sun is shining upon you. It's like you've got your head down, you're working, you're developing, and you look up and like the sun is shining and it's so beautiful. And yeah, when the sun shines, it's gonna reveal shadows. And if you don't have kids, you have the ability to let these things be seen, to sit with these things, to develop them, to unpack what they mean, to find the lesson and the power and source in it. Okay? So the next card I pulled, the Magician. If you don't have kids, you will be able to easily master your reality. The Magician is about using it's like your manifestation, your focus, your intention, your skill, your power to create the reality you want. It's using your inner resources and the resources around you to create the reality you want. And it's also about like using your power to help humanity. Brilliant. Okay, and so we also pulled the Two of Wands. And so like this is about like kind of it's the pause after inspiration and before implementation. So it's like the planning stage. So because you don't have kids, you have the energy, you have the like positive outlook, you have the time for self-mastery. You are able to, you know, imagine. Okay, so the Magician is also about like kind of being impeccable with your words because your, you know, words and your thoughts, it creates reality. So these people out here talking about like all the things, like all the myths they have in their head, that creates reality. And so you are just someone who is much more intentional about it. And so you don't just agree when people are like, oh, you're going to regret kids. Like you don't just go along with that. You do like I do. You have your own kind of like self-direction. And so, yeah, Two of Wands, like you are starting out on this journey and you're not like starting out completely brand new. The wands are on sturdy ground. They're like standing on, you know, sturdy ground. And so you've already been working towards this new thing, you know? And this is facing like she's facing towards the future. And it's just like, you know, she's not weighed down by anything. She doesn't even have like a backpack or anything. Like, I don't think any of these people do. It's just themselves. That's all you need, babe. And so then the last card I pulled, Knight of Swords. Ooh, can you see it? That's so cool. And yeah, the Knight of Swords is also about, you know, they're very ambitious. They're like rushing in, ready to, you know, speak up for justice and, you know, righting wrongs. Let me read this one too. It's a good one. Okay. The Knight of Swords rushes forward with purpose, intellect, and unstoppable drive. He's the crusader of truth, bold, outspoken, and swift. Upright, he represents decisive communication, courageous advocacy, or rapid progress. His energy demands clarity and precision. He acts where others hesitate. Yet the Knight reminds you that speed without mindfulness breeds chaos. Speed without mindfulness breeds chaos. I think that's such an interesting phrasing, too, for what we're talking about. I think a lot of people feel like there's this rush. There's this, you got to reach these milestones by a certain age. By 20, you have to do this. By 30, you got to do this. You have to, and like one of those things often is having kids. But speed without mindfulness breeds chaos. And I think if you look around, you'll see we got a lot of breeding and we got a lot of chaos. That must be because we are rushing through things without any mindfulness. So a lot of people are just maybe having children because everyone around them says and their parents say, and oh, that's what everyone does, and the media tells them. And part of the things that like Trinity has to do is the plot point serves as a thematic critique of the pressures women face to lose their individual identities to motherhood. When Trinity realizes that her domestic life is a cage engineered by the analyst, the machine, the agent, specifically to control her and keep her separated from Neo, separated from oneness, the whole, she's forced to confront whether her longing for this family was genuine or the result of systemic programming. And so people are finally starting to really wonder and ask themselves and compare notes like, is this desire for motherhood really an organic, natural desire? Or is it something that I've been programmed to want by the slave owners, right? Who have received the value that, you want to encourage women, especially Black women, to have children so that the slave owners, the matrix, the powers that were, can profit off of the value of the woman's labor and the value of the labor of her child. So is that something natural or has it been programmed? I say it's been programmed. And then I see a bunch of movies that are like, yeah, it's been programmed. So did I finish reading this? Yeah. Use focus on accuracy before persuasion. Oh yeah, okay. So channel this Knight of Swords energy. Channel this vigor in this card towards justice, innovation, or writing that challenges convention. Okay, so it's conventional to say, yeah, everyone, oh, we should have kids. We have to have kids. Oh, it's selfish not to have kids. No, babe, it is selfish to have kids, and you will not regret not having kids. In fact, like part of the reason I know that there's so many things people are just able to speak now about their experience, and there are lots of people who are like, yeah, don't have kids. Nope. They would much rather have their freedom, their happiness, their power, their influence. Yeah, this is who you're supposed to be, If we were supposed to get the Empress, that's kind of about like birth and like fertility in that way. Like, this is more about like, it's more magical because like this is also about newness and creation. Let me see. Let's see what the little book says. If it has any clues. Okay. Yeah. So the sun signals optimism and fulfillment. You're seen, celebrated, and aligned with your essence. Relationships flourish under honesty. Creativity blooms effortlessly. And, like there is life blooming being created all around us. And the Matrix wants you to think the supreme, best, main way to create is by having children. But the Matrix is trying to keep you trapped in the Matrix so that they can siphon your power for its own aims and benefit, not yours, certainly not the benefit of your children. So, anywho, I've delivered the message. Okay? So, all right. That's all I got, you guys. I gave the message. And yeah, I'm gonna make this one into a video. I do these as lives, but yeah. This is gonna be a great one. Let me know what you think, okay? Like, comment, subscribe. Head on over to my website, See Like Sheba, if you want to work one-on-one with me. And yeah, um, I'm here to tell you as further proof, just in my being, in my embodied being. Um, yeah, you won't regret not having kids. It's so fulfilling. It's like that's the way forward. Like, that's like that sun card, the magician card, that power, that is within you. It already exists within you. And the power of your children that you would create and then produce and like raise and then they go and do that already exists within you. Literally, it's in you. Okay, so you don't have to give birth to it in the way that the powers that were tell you to, that the patriarchy tries to convince you and shame you and trick you and pressure you into doing it. Yeah, you won't regret that. And you will, like me, become the woman who went from easily receiving $5,000 every month to effortlessly receiving $100,000 every single month. So, you know, your choice, baby. Your choice. Okay, hold on one second. Let me just see. I feel like the Two of Wands. I liked how they put this too. Yeah. So also, let me find that Two of Wands. Okay. This Two of Wands, it invites you to step beyond the familiar, to think globally, and act deliberately. Partnerships and collaborations thrive here as long as both parties share purpose. Sometimes people think that, like, oh, if you're not willing to have kids, then you won't, like, find a good partner. Like, I think the opposite is true. Like, I like people who are focused on their own self development and are not so willing to give their DNA away and trying to like put the power outside of themselves. And so when you find another person who is aligned in purpose, like me and BB, oh my God, you can just create so much. It's so beautiful. Um, and what else did it say? I was like, that was beautiful how they put that. Yeah. Step beyond the familiar, think globally, and act deliberately. Okay? Think globally and act deliberately. What does humanity need? Do we need another kid from you? Or do we need a brilliant invention? Yeah, this is about expanding horizons. So, the world is at your fingertips. The question is, which direction will you choose? I know what I'm choosing, and it just keeps getting better and better, and I love that for me. Oh, okay, let me get up out of here. Love you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you, Earth Angels, tomorrow, okay? Love you. Bye.